is Ranger Christy Fleming, and today we're going to talk about Caroline Lockhart. You know, it's interesting, you caught me reading one of her books. Her life is a lot like books. You know how books have parts and chapters and different chapters in each part? That's basically how I look at Caroline Lockhart's life. We're going to break her life into several parts. The first part would be her childhood, and it would read a lot like Little House on the Prairie. Basically, Caroline Lockhart had a fairly open childhood. Her father was a land speculator, and she was given a horse and given the freedom to enjoy the countryside around her. Part 2 would be her adolescence. Basically, she graduates college and is looking to find herself. She tries art, she tries theater, and none of those things really work for her. And then finally, at the end of that part, the last chapter in that part, she realizes that she would be an amazing writer, and that starts the third part of her life. So part 3 of Caroline Lockhart's story, if I was writing her story, I would call Adventure Writer. Caroline Lockhart did amazing writing adventure stories. 2 of my favorites are she dove to the bottom of the Boston Harbor in the old dive suit just to talk about pollution and how dirty the water was. She says that when she got down there, she couldn't see her hand in front of her face. She also closed down a house of reform for women because it wasn't being managed properly. That adventure spirit is actually what brought her out west. She came out west to what is now Glacier National Park to do a story on the wilderness there and to do a story on the Blackfeet Indians that live there. And who knows what made her decide to come to Cody. This is kind of where the story almost becomes a choose your own adventure, because there's different stories on why she ended up in Cody. One is that she had a boyfriend that she came to visit. Another is that she just had a relative. And one is that she was just curious about a town that she had heard about from an interview that she had with Buffalo Bill Cody at one time. Whatever it is, she came to Cody. She bought the Cody Enterprise and started writing novels. Novels like The Lady Doc. This novel is possibly what brought her to the ranch, which leads us to part 4 of her life. Part 4 of her life I would call the Cattle Queen of Montana. She came to this ranch that we're going to spend some time talking about here shortly to get away from it all, to take a retreat, to write more. So if you guys will join me and Ranger Jen and Ranger Sheryl, who are waiting at the ranch behind me, to take a tour of the ranch and learn about part 4 of Caroline Lockhart's life. So glad that you guys can join us at the ranch and for part 4 of Caroline Lockhart's story. Let's look over here. Hey Jen, what do you got going on over there?
Come check out the old schoolhouse. Hey guys, welcome to what used to be Davis Creek Schoolhouse. And once it was no longer a schoolhouse, they actually moved this cabin, took it apart log by log, and moved it out to different areas to homestead with it. So Caroline Lockhart, when she originally purchased this property, it was only about 160 acres. And by moving cabins such as this and having friends and family and housekeepers, like her housekeeper Lou Ketchum, they would put these little houses out and use it as a homestead and claim that property. And she was eventually able to grow her 160 acres into over 6,000 acres. Of course, there was a few legal issues in there, but most of those were sorted out around 1936. They were able to actually fight all of those and officially consolidate all of those homesteads into that 6,000-acre ranch. Thanks for joining me at the Davis Schoolhouse, also known as the Homesteader Cabin. Let's go see where Ranger Sheryl is waiting for us.
Hey. Okay, this building included a root cellar. And it was one of the first buildings here, the root cellar part, before Caroline Lockhart got here. Root cellars were used to keep your winter food. And that would include carrots, potatoes, beans, peas. The front part of this was built by Caroline Lockhart, and it was designed to store batteries and a wind-powered generator. Come in and take a look. Okay, this is the original part of this building. This was what was here before Caroline Lockhart moved here, and this was what was used to store the food. But a really interesting thing, a park archaeologist actually found a pair of women's shoes in here. Really makes you wonder where those came from. You ready? Okay, so there's the root cellar. Let's go see what's going on with Christy. Hey, Christy, what's up?
Hey, I'm over here at the crow's nest. So as we've kind of alluded to already, Caroline Lockhart wasn't the first person to start this ranch. This bottom part of what we call the crow's nest was actually built by the Wassons, who were here right before Caroline Lockhart was. The upper portion, which is what we call, probably better known as the crow's nest, was built by Caroline Lockhart. Some of her housekeepers lived up there. Her foreman, Dave Good, lived up there. And actually, I call it the doghouse because Dave Good most of the time got to live in the main house, but when he was in trouble, he got moved in here. Since I wasn't here when Caroline Lockhart lived here, I probably don't know this for sure, but I bet when the housekeeper lived in the house up here, she probably got up in the morning and moved on to the spring house before going to the main house. Let's see what Jen's doing over at the spring house.
Hey guys, this is pretty cool. Come check it out. Isn't that so cool? So this spring house has been here since the Wassons were here also, so before Caroline Lockhart. But like Christy said, the housekeeper would come over here and gather all of the cold products, the dairy and the eggs, the things that need to get stored. Those all got stored in here. And then they would take them over to the main house for the day, cook their meals, and then bring them back over for storage at night. Not quite today's refrigerator system, but it worked for them. Where in the world did Ranger Sheryl go?
I'm here at the bunkhouses. Come take a look. Okay, so if you have a ranch, you have to have cowboys. And this is where some of the Lockhart cowboys lived. This is the bunkhouse. Let's go inside and take a look at it. Okay, these accommodations aren't too bad. You got a hardwood floor, you got tight walls, you got a roof. Several cowboys would have lived in here, and we find they actually must have had quite a sense of humor. If you look above this on this window frame here, you can see it. Beer, 15 cents. Whiskey, WHESKY, for 50 cents. So either that, or you had somebody that was doing a job on the side. Okay, so this is where the cowboys lived, but let's go see where the cattle queen lived. Hey, Jen!
Hey guys, way down here! So this is the main house. This portion of the house is original. This was here when the Wasson family lived here. But when Carolyn moved in, she built this section, which is the main living room area. And she also added on her own master bedroom. So let's go in. This whole section over here was built on for her bedroom and closet. Let's go take a look. So this big spacious room is Caroline Lockhart's big old bedroom. And what Ranger Christy was just showing you is the floorboard to her walk-in closet, which was pretty rare, especially back then. The unique part about what she just showed you is it not only had the Lockhart name on it, but it showed that it came from Kane, Wyoming. And that is where the lumber mill was. And it would be a several-hour wagon ride and eventually truck, but it took quite a while for them to make the road into Lockhart drivable. So for quite a while it was still wagon to get things like the wood here. So right off of Carolyn's room, this little room was Dave Good's room. Remember Christy talking about Dave Good? They had a long-time relationship and he lived right here, had asked Caroline to marry him multiple times, but she always declined. We'll never know why, but they had a long-lasting relationship and this was his bedroom. Right off of his bedroom would be the kitchen. You can still see the stovepipe where the stove would have been. And this cutout is actually an ice box, what they used as a refrigerator. So when we said that they would go to the spring house, get all of the fresh products, they would bring them into the ice box, use it as a refrigerator during the day, and then bring them back out to the spring at the night. Right off of the kitchen area would be a dining room. Pretty nice and spacious. She must have done some entertaining. And what's even bigger than that is this amazing main room. This main room had lush furniture and was home to several of her exotic pets. She was very well known for keeping very, very large bull snakes who would keep her house clean from rodents and rattlesnakes. But rumor has it that one of her cowboys didn't like that and at one point in time killed one of her bull snakes and promptly found himself unemployed. So let's find our way out and go finish our tour. Hope you enjoyed our tour of the main house. Let's go see what's going on across the creek.
Jen, you caught me resting over here at the guest cabin. So this is the guest cabin. Caroline Lockhart had a ton of different people that would come and visit her. She always said if you were coming, it would be nice if you'd bring a gift. She usually liked her gifts to be liquid with maybe a little alcohol added in. But people came and visited. People like Chief Plentycoo might have stayed here at this cabin. There is a fun story inside though if you want to come in. So inside the cabin we have this fireplace, which would have kept this cozy place nice and warm. The funny thing about this story is she hired the mason, and the mason thought he would be really clever. And so he put a lock and a slash and a heart for the Lockhart Ranch brand. That was almost close to what Caroline Lockhart's actual brand was, but she really didn't appreciate the lock. So this mason never got paid for his work. So Lockhart loved to have guests, but she really hated the fact that the main road came right through her ranch. so she eventually changed the course of the road. But I think Sheryl's standing over on the bridge right now.
Okay, you've seen where the people lived. Now let's see where the animals live. But first of all, this building behind me here is the very first structure on this property. It was put up by the very first rancher, Link Hannon. It was prior to 1900. When Caroline got here, she made it part of the chicken coop. It's pretty amazing chicken coop, and for storage. There was your barn. Next to that, the blacksmith shop. And next to that, a modern convenience here on the ranch, the garage.
So after the tour of the ranch and learning a little bit about Caroline Lockhart's life out here at the ranch, we're to the end of part 4 of her story. In 1955, her eyesight was failing. It's possible she might have had a little bit of dementia. She sold the ranch to the Tippett family and moved back to Cody. In 1962, Caroline Lockhart passes away at age 91. And although she's gone, with the help of the Park Service and our amazing resource management staff, we're able to continue to protect and preserve this ranch and her memory for future generations. We hope you've enjoyed Field Trip Friday. Please leave questions and comments below. Have a great day.